Heavy sleepers of Reddit, what are some surrounding events happenings you unknowingly dozed off to and only found out about the next day? Not me, but a friend. He took a nap in his seat at a rock concert. He first dozed off while him was playing and slept all the way through Taking Back Sunday. He was stone cold sober, just tired apparently. I'd probably sleep through him too. Not because they're bad, but I find most of their songs soothing. Visiting an aunt when I was younger. I was taking a quick nap on her couch. While I was asleep, a power line went down across her front yard. Literally 30 featuring outside the window I was sleeping next to. Multiple fire trucks. Firemen coming through the house to make sure everything was okay inside. Sirens, alarms, fire hoses. The works. I woke up after everything was over. Confused why the carpet was dirty and the yard burnt up. When I was pregnant with my third baby, I woke up at midnight to the popping sound of my water breaking. I got up and went to the bathroom and confirmed that my water had in fact broken. Got a towel and went back to bed. Woke up at 5:30 in the morning with some big contractions and figured I better get to the hospital. Went to the hospital, dilated to 9 and baby was born 20 minutes later. So labor. I slept through my labor and transition. Highly recommended. Thought the story was going to end with, and when I woke up there was a baby in the bed. A 6.8 mag earthquake while I was living near the Bay Area where it hit. Everyone else woke up because of the heavy rumbling but I staying asleep. Meanwhile I would wake up to someone walking in the hallway in the morning with my door shut. I once slept through the process of my grandmother calling 911 for my grandfather, the ambulance coming to our house with sirens blaring. The process of getting him loaded into the ambulance and leaving. I woke up the next morning like, where did Gramps go? I didn't even know why he had to be taken to the hospital. I think it was a broken hip. This reminds me of the time I slept through a seizure and woke up in the ambulance. I once slept through a tornado that happened about a mile from my hotel. My girlfriend woke me up at about 2 AM saying how scared she was of the storm and that the power went out and she was worried. I told her while half awake to leave me alone, I'll deal with it in the morning and that it's just thunder, I don't know why you are freaking out. She was fuming at me when I woke up the next morning and found out that a tornado destroyed a high school not too far away. Once a tornado formed on top of my house when I was younger. My mom screamed my name from downstairs several times, but it wasn't until my dad ran up and literally grabbed me out of bed that I woke up. I was so pissed at all of them. Thankful looking back on it though. Not me, my parents. They told me a story a while back about the time they stayed at a hotel in England for their friend's wedding in the mid 1990s. They stayed in room 1012. They went to bed as normal and sank into their usual deep sleep state. Upon entering the all-you-can-eat buffet breakfast in the hotel at 8 AM the next morning, they were approached by a similar-aged couple who proceeded to ask, "Oh my gosh, what do you think of last night?" My parents naively replied to the couple by saying, "Oh yes, Julie and Paul's wedding. It was amazing." The couple exchanged confused glances. Not the wedding reception. My parents were obviously confused now. All the commotion in room 1013. The room next door to you. The couple almost giggle as they expect this to prompt my parents. "What do you mean?" my dad asks as he naively continues to pile scrambled eggs onto his plate at the buffet. Turns out, there was a massive drug bust in the hotel room next door to my parents. Armed police smashed in the door screaming, "Armed police, nobody move," as like 10 police officers stormed the room. Multiple people arrested, one man tasered outside my parents' door, and a man screaming bloody murder as he was being cuffed. My parents didn't hear a thing. Mayo. This is one of the best ones. Holy crap. I once fell asleep at a Metallica concert in the middle of the show. Not a heavy sleeper, just exhausted. Now I wake up if the stars twinkle too loud. Sleep with one eye open. That I slept so hard that my friends thought I was dead. They just kept shaking my non-responsive body. Why they did nothing about it is beyond me, lol. I missed a whole but Saturday once in high school. I just got back from a band field trip where I didn't sleep much for 4 or 5 days, and I got home from the airport at about 3 AM on Friday and I passed out. I woke up and saw my clock said 6. I looked out the window and I thought that the sun was coming up, so I went back to sleep. I woke up a few hours later at 8 and it was dark outside. I was confused cause it should be bright at 8 AM. I came out and my mom was making breakfast for dinner, which also confused me, and she asked if I was ready for school tomorrow. I was like, no, it's Sunday tomorrow. As it turns out, I slept 36 hours straight through Saturday and woke up Sunday night thinking it was Saturday morning. It is still my record for most hours slept. Growing up, we had an indoor cat. Occasionally we would let him out in the summer, but usually not for too long. One day we forgot him outside. Around 2 AM he was crying at the door to be let in. My brother and parents heard it but were mostly still asleep. Soon another cat showed up and the two started fighting on our doorstep. If you were not aware, cats get very loud when they fight. My brother, who was in high school at the time, jumped out of bed shouting, "It's Kitty." Our cat's name was Kitty. My brother ran out to help Kitty, followed by my parents. When my brother opened the door, Kitty jumped inside but my brother did not notice. The other cat started to run away. The other cat looked very similar to Kitty. So at 2 AM my brother was running down the street in his boxes chasing the neighbor's cat while yelling, "Kitty, come back." My parents were chasing my brother while yelling, "That's not Kitty." I slept through the whole thing. When you were told about it, I hope you said, "You gotta be kidding me." Someone opening my front door, walking in, taking all my crap and leaving without a hitch. It really sucked, but at least he took my school bag as well, so I had a great excuse to not have my homework done the next day. AWW, this sucks so bad and happens a lot. People walk into bedrooms and grab car keys from nightstands and leave in the car parked in the drive. The very common occurrence here in Australia. I slapped my girlfriend in my sleep. She responded with a massive slap without even thinking cause she doesn't take no crap. I didn't wake up. She also apologized after. I fell asleep in my dorm room while in college. I lived alone. They had a fire drill at like 3 AM. The firefighters came, opened each room and checked on us. The fire alarm did not wake me up. They tried to shake me awake. Nothing. So they called an ambulance. Those guys got a stretcher, loaded me up onto it and started taking me down 3 flights of stairs. Once we were on the 4th flight of steps, I woke up and tried to jump off the stretcher because, well, I thought I was being kidnapped. The ambulance guys still tried to get me to go to the hospital because they thought I was on drugs because I did not wake up. The truth of the matter is, that is just the way I sleep. I have 5 different alarm clocks set to wake me up, but sometimes I still do not hear them while asleep. None of my doctors know what to do about it other than tell me to buy more alarm clocks. This affects my jobs badly. I hate it. I had to get one of those alarm clocks for deaf people. The one I bought is a sonic boom. It has one of those super shaker bed vibrating units that you can put under your pillow that vibrates. It also has a plug for a lamp, so when the alarm goes off, the lamp light flashes on and off. It helped a lot the first 2 years, but now I've gotten used to it, so I need to change it up. I slept through a pretty decent sized earthquake. Not a little rattle, but big enough that everything on the walls ended up on the floor. Slept through my neighbor shooting her boyfriend. Slept through the police and ambulance sirens. Slept through the cops knocking on the door asking if we heard anything. This was in Kemmerer, Wyoming in the early 80s. My kids barfing in the middle of the night. Instant response. I was about 12 at the time, camping with the family, and I woke up one morning with this large painful swelling bump that was obviously some kind of insect bite, but very obviously not a mosquito bite. I had plenty of those already at that point in the trip. My parents checked my tent and found a tarantula with dozens of little babies on it. Oh heck no. Someone threw a Molotov cocktail through the window of a business under my apartment. Set the building on fire. Fire crew, sirens, everything right out front. Read about it in the news that afternoon after leaving out the back. Slept through the whole thing. Well, I'm probably too late for anyone to see this comment, but here's my story anyway. I was on a safari camping trip in Namibia with my dad and his wife. I'm actually not usually a heavy sleeper, but we were at a campsite that had a bar. Heck yes, and I'd had a bit to drink. It was a long day and I was tired and a little drunk, so I went back to my tent early. When I woke up the next morning, both my dad and our guide started asking me if I was okay and telling me how brave I was. I'm sitting there thinking, Of course I'm okay. I mean, it was too hot for my liking, but it was just as hot for everyone else, so I can hardly see what about that makes me brave. They explained to me that an elephant came into our campsite during the night and began to use my tent as a scratching post. I was a wrong step or two away from being crushed to death and had absolutely no idea. They assumed I was still awake, but I slept through the entire ordeal. My dad was losing his mind trying to do something, and our guide and the person who ran the campsite spent an hour or so trying to lure this elephant away from my tent. I guess eventually it just got bored and walked away. I'd actually thought they were just pranking me or something, but we were staying there a couple nights, and that next night, an elephant, maybe the same one, I dunno, came in and was walking around the campsites again. Honestly glad I slept through it because I would have been crapping myself. My family owns a beach cabin on the west coast and decided to have a family vacation there for a week. We didn't realize how big the entire family was, so all the parents decided to rent the neighbor's cabin so they could sleep in one, while the cousins could all sleep in the other. Since there weren't enough beds for all the cousins, I just slept in a sleeping bag on the floor. Apparently, in the middle of the night my younger cousin fell off her bed and landed on me, causing a very loud thud. The parents heard it from next door, rushed into the house, and my cousin and I were still sound asleep. I didn't even know it happened until the next day. Slept through after falling from my bunk bed. The lower bed is wider, queen size I think. I'm sleeping from the top bunk and I fell but didn't bother. My sister from the lower bed was awoken as well as my parents from another room. My sister did this. My mum came running in to find me looking confused and my sister snoring on the floor. When she was in her 20s, my now wife would sometimes fall asleep when she was out partying in the club, like in one of those unbelievably loud dance clubs that people go to all night with VIP tables and a DJ where if you actually want to talk to someone you need to bring your mouth right up to their ear and yell while they jam their finger in the opposite ear. It would be like 3 AM and she'd sneak off from the group, find a banquet lounge chair or something and just go to sleep. Makes me feel really insulted when she complains now about my snoring today. I'm like, really? My snoring is too much, but house music periodically interrupted by the DJ blasting a foghorn is okay. I hate clubs like that, thankfully she grew out of them. My husband is like that. He has very weird sleep cycle. Sleep 4 hours for 3 days for no reason and then feel asleep in the nightclub, in the party bus, etc. Not me, but my brother sleeps through nearly anything. The most memorable to me is him falling off the top bunk. I was on bottom bunk. He made the loudest crash ever, followed by snoring LOL. I'm a pretty heavy sleeper, but I haven't had anything happen to me. My mom on the other hand had someone bring a Serenade to her place and she slept right through it. My grandmother, who is typically not a heavy sleeper, slept through Hurricane Laura and we were directly in its path 50 miles from the coast. It's been over a month and she's still upset, concerned, confused, something. I just can't believe I slept through that storm. I slept through Hurricane Opal when I was a teenager. Several trees fell in the yard and throughout the neighborhood. My mom and brother stayed up all night freaking out while I slept like a rock. I live in Florida and have been through so many hurricanes and have slept through every single one. I even lived in a mobile home at one point and slept through a hurricane that shook the whole thing. In college, a cop came into our common area. BC roommates were being rowdy. He apparently knocked on my door for 10 minutes before giving up. Roommates thought I was just hiding and they're acting asleep. Was legit passed TF out and next morning had no idea anything had happened. They all got written up. I almost slept through the LA earthquake in 1992. I was at a friend's house for a sleepover with about 5 other kids. We were sleeping in the living room. Apparently when the shaking started I rolled all the way to the kitchen. Was woken up by his mom freaking out trying to get me out of the house. No one could believe that I could stay asleep during all that shaking and noise. When I worked at the coach work part of an automobile factory, a colleague fell asleep in a bin of steel sheets and didn't even wake up when the manager pulled the emergency alarm for the entire building, thinking he was seriously injured. And trust me, that place was loud. Slept through a dorm fire alarm, knocks, bangs on the door, countless alarm clocks, and landing while a passenger on a plane. I regularly get woken up by my partner snoring though. My ex kicked me off the bed. I slept through the alarm and she was trying to wake me up. Well, too bad. I didn't wake up to that and just turned on the floor to my side. I was told that I missed my bus after I woke up confused on the floor. Extra. Slept through a party at my friend's cottage. They did not try to be quiet and apparently I got a lap dance. Bit bummed to have missed it but everyone refused to tell who gave it. So I'm bit uncertain should I feel relieved or bummed. Not the next day but I slept through a magnitude 5 earthquake. My mom told me about it after I woke up probably hours after it happened. I slept through a suspected M-head trying to break into my house. I live in a fairly decent area of my city. I say fairly decent because there are mostly families and a few golden aged households as well as some M-heads that live on my block where there is a huge Catholic church on the corner. My BF was over the other day and he woke me up from a nap apologizing for snapping on my neighbor because she had just tried breaking into my house. Luckily he was awake because he ran outside after she tried to get away and yelled at her that she will regret it if she tried that again, but she was so high. He doesn't think the message registered too well with her. I can't believe I didn't hear all the commotion but I hope she doesn't try that again. Not me, but my stepdad. So my stepdad was in the military before he married my mom, and while he was in the military, there was an attack on the base that he was at. I don't know the name of the base because I don't remember what he said. Sorry Reddit. But apparently from what he said, he had slept through the entire attack. Now I don't know if he was just pulling my leg or not, but he is a really heavy sleeper. Like for example, one time our cat Mittens had been jumping around and had pushed over a glass vase in the living room. My stepdad was sleeping in the living room at the time, and it woke up everyone in the house except for him. So I don't know if this story is real or not, but I thought I should share this with you anyway. I grew up in a quite noisy neighborhood. I learned to sleep through everything. One day I had went to bed early and has fallen asleep super quick. I woke up finally when I smelled something burning. I shot up thinking my house was on fire. Something that has already happened once and the trauma was what woke me up and kept me up. I looked out my window to see 4 cars on fire, 2 fire trucks, about 10 police cars and the ambulance. My mom was at work so I didn't know what happened until the next day. 2 people died in the car fire and crash. I slept through the noise apparently. One morning I woke up, got breakfast, and was casually informed by my roommate that our downstairs neighbor's crazy ex came by and shot at him through his front door while I was asleep. So not only did I sleep through a shooting, I also slept through the sirens of the cop cars, the arrest, and my roommate giving his eyewitness account to the cops. That's the morning I learned that I will die in my sleep, just not of natural causes. My neighbor's murder on the sidewalk in front of our houses. He was shot multiple times. I had drunk NyQuil so it knocked me out. Earthquake. Very small. Severe thunderstorms. And one time, a tree fell in my backyard and landed next to my bedroom window. Now, I did wake up, but barely. It was like half awake and I immediately went back to sleep without registering anything. Massive thunderstorm. Apparently lightning struck 200 feet from the house and sounded like a bomb went off. Woke up as if nothing happened. I slept through a tree falling on our lake house. The thing snapped in half when it hit the roof and ended up taking out the stairway. I've slept through a plus 6.0 magnitude earthquake. And when I was going cross country with my father we once stayed at a hotel that was right next to the local rail yard. They started making up the trains at 5 AM. So every few seconds there was another loud bang as the cars were coupled. But I woke up at 8 AM, with no knowledge of that, and while it doesn't count, since I was under heavy anesthetic, it took 6 people to hold me down while the dental surgeon extracted my wisdom teeth, but I remember none of it. I fell asleep when me and my sister were home alone. We shared a room at the time and always had our bedroom door locked when we were alone. Well, apparently someone broke in, robbed us, tried to break down our bedroom door, then left when the police got there. I slept through the entire goddamn thing. The reason for my sister not waking me up, she was crying and calling 911. I live in Chicago. A few years ago there was an earthquake that was felt up to here. Every one of my family and friends said they felt it and some claimed to have been woken up by it. I slept through the whole thing without even knowing until I was asked about it in the afternoon. Didn't even believe them till I googled it. Not really a heavy sleeper, but we were on a boarding trip 14 hours in a bus, so I was tired as heck. I hear my teacher coming in the room and asking us if we've seen a girl that went in the other class, and I woke up the next day to find out the girl went for a night walk and fell into some pit of rocks or something. Can't quite remember. The girl had to get stitches, and since that day we never went on road trips ever again. The 2008 5.4 earthquake in California. Woke up to my sister busting through my bedroom door thinking I was dead because the epicenter was 9 miles from where we were. Went out into the house. Walls were cracked. Tons of stuff was broken. Later on in footage you could see the highway swaying in the air. Crazy crap. Still can't live that down with my family. I have slept through a burglary. We were at the cottage and I woke up 15 minutes after he left. Scary part is that I was the only one sleeping in ground floor and all others were upstairs. If you are new to the channel, you can subscribe. I publish new videos every day. Until then, check another video. Bye for now.